Hello.
Hi, welcome back. It's been a while.
But
Couple weeks.
Almost.
Couple weeks,
Yeah,
right?
almost.
We both got sick. That's been fabulous.
Yeah.
Again. Came back from the cruise, got sick. Went a couple months, got sick again. It's nice. And for the first time we're recording something. See how that goes. I'm sure we'll hate it, but we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right?
100%.
Right? That's what we say.
Absolutely.
It's part of the deep dive. Someday we'll talk about the deep dive. So episode
43.
43. See, I already forgot. We literally just talked about this shit. Yeah, episode 43. We're calling it the cookie ornament. Say what? Right?
Yes.
So when people read it, it'll make more sense to them. But so yeah, forgive us for some sniffles or some coughs or a huck tour or something like that. We're not going to do that today. It's a different show. It's After Dark show. So yeah, what are we talking about when we're talking? What are we talking about? What are we talking about when we talk about the cookie?
I think
ornament?
you should tell the story of the cookie ornament.
Oh boy. So, well, infamously, Tina and I have same brain, right? We really have same brain.
Absolutely.
So we think a lot alike, and sometimes we assume the other one is already thinking or already knows what the other person's thinking. So things get left out, right?
Yeah.
Especially when we're texting. Right? Texting is a big one.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes we'll send texts and I don't know how her reaction is, but on my side, I'm like, what? I don't understand. So I sent a picture. So we have our friend group, the Brunch Bitches. Shout out to the Brunch Bitches. None of them listen, by the way. But shout out to the Brunch Bitches. They're great friends. Fuck you guys. We've talked about them before. Cousins, friends. We all hang out. We started several years ago.
Yeah, like
we
8.
go on vacations and stuff together and all kinds of things. So that's our friend group. And we started doing a Secret Santa exchange a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. And this year, basically it just boils down to a gift exchange. And one of the things that popped up in my feed was this one of those rainbow Italian cookies, right? It's got the red and the yellow. I think it's red, yellow, and green in there.
I think so.
And then it's coated in chocolate. It's like a cake cookie kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's probably a name for it. I won't say it. I'm sure I'll butcher it.
I don't even know what it's called. Rainbow cookie.
The rainbow cookie. Rainbow cookie. So I sent a picture of it because it was an ornament that popped up in my feed. Mm-hmm. Cute. Super cute. And super cute. And I sent it to Tina. And it was literally a link where you can order them from. And Tina sends back, who has them?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So on my end, I'm like, what? Like, it's a link.
And what did you answer?
It's a link.
You said.
I don't remember what
I
say.
You said.
Did you click the link?
Hardcore Italians has them. Did you click the link, woman?
Did you click the? It was meant to read. Did you click the link, woman? Like,
I know.
Okay.
Right.
Good.
However, what I meant was who has the people that it was intended for.
Right. So we have friends that they've sent pictures of them. They swear by this deli, that has them, the greatest ones in the entire world on the face of this planet. And so they came to mind immediately when I sent it, but we didn't know who had them in the draw, because it wasn't either of us. So, but I sent it.
Right.
And you said, who has them? But in my mind, I'm like, the fucking link I just sent you has them. What are you talking about?
And it's funny because until we talked about it later, we laughed about it because then we realized that's how things get messed up in texts all the time with people. And there's so much, miscommunication, and you wonder why everyone's so fucked up about everything now because
Yeah.
texts sometimes don't make sense. They make sense to you when you're texting it to the person,
Uh-huh.
but that doesn't always, like, this was a
Right.
clear example because remember we said, you're like, oh, like I could see why you said that, and then I said, oh, I could see why you said that, like.
Right.
But at the time, it was like, what? Of course, I looked at the link. I checked the link,
Right.
whatever. So it's
Yeah.
fine.
I was like,
So
what are you talking
we're like
about?
podcast.
So the whole idea is, and I know we've probably talked about this before.
This was a good example.
Even if we have, we're going to revisit topics because they
Absolutely.
always come up, and everybody
they
needs
do.
reminders, including us. So, there's topics we talked about early on that were really popular as far as most listened, that I'm sure we will talk about again.
Yeah.
Especially if we're good at this whole video thing. No,
Should be like Jim in The Office.
Yes, right. Maybe do whatever you want. Just keep your pants on. But it's easy, especially with your partner, right? Because you guys, and I'll say this for us, I can't speak for everybody else, but we are so much on the same wavelength and process that we just automatically assume sometimes. And, you're like, I don't understand why you're asking me that question. Like, I have all the thoughts right here. You have the same thoughts. What's the problem? Like, hello?
I mean, I've even had where I use voice text, it doesn't understand me, and you knew what I was talking about, even though it didn't.
Right.
And you still understood. I mean,
Right.
that's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you get good sometimes deciphering, shit like that. And it makes sense, like logically. It's like those stupid things where they remove a bunch of letters and you can still figure out the words. You can like read it without any problem.
Yeah.
Right. So I think
True.
some of that is like that. But yeah, it takes effort. And I think the big thing is we communicate so often, especially now, because before you're at work, you can't really talk to your significant other. You don't usually talk to them throughout the day.
Right.
Back in the day, even when cell phones first came out, you still didn't use them for that because you're not supposed to be on the fucking phone.
Right.
So you text, and most places don't have a problem with it as long as you're getting your work done. It's not a distraction, that kind of thing.
Right.
But it still takes effort because you're not in front of them. They don't see what you're doing. You don't see what they're doing. And
how's your day going?
Right.
What kind of mood are you in?
Right. And what are you thinking about? What's happening? They could be doing 10 different things.
Yeah.
And you get that text, like they ask you a question and you're in the middle of shit. And then 30 seconds later, you get a hello. Like, oh, I don't know. I'm just getting paid to do something right now. Sorry, I didn't get back to you quick enough. My boss kind of wants me to work. But and this is less about that. And it's
we don't
more
do that
about
to
the
each other.
communication portion,
Yeah.
It takes effort to communicate properly it takes effort to communicate properly with one another anyway.
Period.
Like
Absolutely.
in person.
Mm-hmm.
But especially when you're talking through media, whether you're Messenger, Snapchat, fucking TikTok, which you don't use, Instagram, you send something, hey, you want to send me a recipe link in Instagram? Oh, look at this cocktail, and most stuff makes sense, but sometimes it doesn't, and you have to realize and be understanding. Maybe is the word I want to use there. I don't want to say sensitive to it because that doesn't sound right, but understanding of the fact that, okay, you're reading it one way, they communicated it another, and there's a barrier called distance. You're not face to face to have this discussion.
Right.
Because honestly, if it was, we were sitting together, I'd go, oh, look at this ornament. Do you think they'd like this? Who has them? Right. That's how the conversation would go.
Because to us, it's like you're there even though you're not there.
Right. But it was such a weird thing that we literally talked about it later. I go, what were you talking about? Who has them? And you're like, and you said who it was. And I'm like, oh, because that's how it came out in the text. I was like, okay, bing.
Yeah.
light went on. Oh, now I understand what you're asking me.
I think we had something similar. I don't remember. I think it was before that or after. I think it was before that where you said you read something I texted to you a certain way. I meant it a different way, but when I went back and reread it, I'm like, oh, I could, because now I had a different mindset. So when I was reading it later,
Yes.
I was like, oh, I could totally see why you would think that
Right.
what I was saying was that.
Right.
Which, I mean, thankfully this was not, it's not like urgent, like we're not talking shit or doing anything urgent. Right. However, it's fascinating to go, you think you're communicating, like you're pulling the words out and putting them down,
Yeah.
and you're hoping that the person on the other end is receiving it the right way. People aren't always receiving it the way that we're giving it to them, unfortunately.
I think people, I think it's important when you go to send a message or ask a question looking for a certain response, that you need to do it with intention.
Yeah.
Because if you're really busy, but you remember, oh shit, I gotta send Tina a text really quick to ask her this question, or I gotta follow up with her on this because I need to know, are we doing something on such and such date? I need to have the right intention so that I word it properly instead of firing off a half-assed text. Because what usually happens is you waste more time trying to figure out what the other person is talking about or what they mean. That's true. Right?
That's very true.
Yeah. There was another example. We had another example, right? What was it?
Was it about the one for me with the deleting?
Yeah. Yes. Right. So you had an incident a while back.
I did.
That it was your email list, right? Subscriber list for work stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
So I had, for work, you have all your previous clients and your realtors and attorneys and everyone on your list, and they get, emails coming through, whatever, just like a drip campaign or whatever you want to call it. And I was sitting at working, and it was a few months ago, and all of a sudden I got a, so-and-so unsubscribed from your emails. And I was like, huh. It was actually a realtor and her husband that I know, and her and I like talk and whatever, and I talked to him, whatever. And I was kind of like, I wonder why. I even said to you, I don't know why they would unsubscribe. They're the ones who asked me, they wanted to do some things with me. So I was kind of like, so of course, me being me, I picked up the phone and I called her.
Yeah. Right.
And I had to be prepared for her to say, yeah, we just really don't want the emails, or, whatever she was going to say. She might have said, hey, fuck you. We don't like you. I mean, whatever. I had to be ready for it. However, at least I got an answer. As I always say, everybody as a human being wants closure.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. Once you get the closure, the healing begins. It's the non-closure that keeps the wound open for everyone. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? So I wanted the closure. So I called her and I said, hey, I'm just calling, sorry to bother you. Just calling, you guys said you wanted to get my emails. Your husband just unsubscribed from my emails. And she's like, what? And she's like, no, he didn't. I go, he did. And I said, you could tell me if they're, too much. And she's like, no. Right. And then she texted him while we were on the phone. And then we had a group text, the three of us. And then he said, you saw it before I could say something to you. He goes, we're changing. That's our personal email. We're changing to this email. I was going to ask you if you would change it over. However, what was funny was, in my mind, I was thinking, and I said it to her, how funny she's like, oh my God, thank you so much for calling me. And I go, right, because my feelings would have been hurt. Yeah. I was pissed off, especially I think I was kind of stressed out that day from other work stuff. Yeah. So it's like I was a little stressed. Then I was annoyed about that. If I didn't call her, I would have been harboring these feelings of pissed off resentment towards her, right? Yeah. Then I scroll through Facebook and see her doing stuff and being like, oh, okay, whatever. And then when I see her, maybe I'm kind of rude to her. And then she's like, what's with this bitch? And it all turns into this nonsense for literally no reason except for a miscommunication about a fucking email. Right. So all I thought, she's like, oh my God, this is such a great topic to talk about. And that's when we wrote it in the book, because we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
It is, because it was something that, I mean, and honestly, but I know I'm the weirdo who would have been like, if she would have said, we don't want to work with you, I would have been like, okay, well, thanks. Do you want to tell me why? Or, some people don't want to have those conversations. I don't care. Again, I got the closure. But the reality is that it was something simple. And because I was willing to call and communicate with her, the let's call it crisis averted, meaning the miscommunication didn't happen
Right.
and all
It didn't
that
have to
drama
turn
and
into
nonsense.
anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And some people get so far onto this side that they don't like people anymore because of whatever they heard or whatever. It's like, when you start to not like someone and all of a sudden all the things that were cute aren't cute anymore, and then you just get more and more annoyed at them.
Right.
And then sometimes you go so far that you don't even want to mend it anymore. And
Right.
it's a lot of it is made up bullshit in our heads that isn't even real.
Yeah.
And it all started because of something stupid like this. I look at how many people I know personally who ended friendships over the dumbest shit that wasn't even real.
Right.
And you try not to stand in the middle of it because it's not really your place, unless you sometimes, like me, I will.
Yeah.
But there's always one who just doesn't want to, well, I'll let her say it or I'll let him come to me. Okay. Like,
Right.
is it not important? Like,
Right.
so.
I think well, I mean, it's cool that you picked it up, and what's even cooler is that they received it a certain way.
She did.
Because so many people are terrible with, we're going to call it confrontation, right?
Even
it's
though
not
that's
really
not a bad
confrontation.
word. I mean,
but even in that case,
yeah.
it's not, I mean, is it confrontation? I don't know. It's
you're confronting
confronting something, but you're not being contentious about it.
Exactly.
So that's, I think people think that contention and confrontation
and directness
go hand in hand, right? They have to be a fight when you're going to confront something. It doesn't. And in that case, they were receptive to it and appreciated it.
Yes.
And you've seen it even since then. So it's not like they placated you by going, okay.
Right.
And then hung up the phone and went, what the fuck is her problem? And then ignored you after that all the time. So they were legit in it. So kudos to them and kudos to you for doing that. But the social media point, that when you said it, when you were telling the story, it reminded me of that. I didn't even think about that portion of it, but we have a tendency to do that shit where we send a text, right? And the person hasn't responded to you yet, but you went and saw that they just posted something on Facebook and they shared something on there. Oh, and they were just on Messenger 3 minutes ago, but they can't answer my fucking text. What? Like, that's a whole other component that gets thrown into there because we get in our head that the person, why aren't they answering
responding?
Me? Hey, you know what?
What did I do to them?
Back in the day, you had to wait until the evening to call them to actually talk to them because you didn't have it right at your fingertips immediately. Right. So because everything has gotten more readily accessible, or people have gotten more readily accessible.
Yeah.
And the speed at which we do things is why shit gets misconstrued and misunderstood, and why feelings get hurt. Well, actually, feelings don't actually get hurt. You actually, if you can possibly even do this, you hurt your own damn feelings.
Yeah.
Because you allow yourself to get in your head about it and you get upset about something that didn't actually happen.
I've done it. Yeah. How many times have I done that and someone will send me a text and I'll be like, I don't, what, and I'll show it to you and you'll be like, no, I'm not really. And you don't do it in a dismissive way. You're looking at it, right? Because again, where's my mind at?
Yeah.
What kind of day am I having? How do I feel about this person at this moment in time? Like if I'm mad at someone, they can send me, hey, fun person or whatever, and I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? Like seriously,
that's
like
Mr. Fun Person.
But let's face it, that's a reality, right? When you have a bone to pick with someone sometimes and you don't talk about it and you don't deal with it and you don't confront it, all of a sudden every little thing that they do, it gets piled on and piled on and piled on. And all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck? And you get, and you're,
Yeah.
And it's like nothing they do is right. I mean, how many times have we heard people say that in a conversation? Oh, or they're arguing with someone, whether it's a spouse or a coworker, a friend, or whatever. Nothing I do is right. I can't do
Right.
anything right. Everything I
Yeah.
do is wrong. And it's
Right.
like, ooh, that's
Hello,
like,
martyr.
I mean, but you know, and it's because you didn't open your mouth and say
Right.
something. So I guess what we're trying to point out is that, do you want to get to that level, or is it like, yeah, it kind of sucks
How
a little bit
comfortable
to,
are you? Yeah.
it's uncomfortable to have the conversation now, but isn't it worse later when you're feeling like the
Yeah.
martyr and the victim, and you know, and you made that person the villain in your story, and now you hate each other and your
Right.
whole life blows up, all because you just didn't want to have that uncomfortable little conversation earlier?
Right.
Like,
Well,
it doesn't seem like, to me, that's not very smart.
you know, I worked in a, I don't know if I want to call it I guess a corporate world. It wasn't, you know, I worked for I've done a lot of things, but before I started 911, I worked for an IT company. It was a networking company. We built computers, we built networks, we built websites, we did all this stuff. So you're dealing with clients and people all day long. Email, big part of the communication. You know, sidebar on that funny story. Early on, when I started working there, they had taken on a client, and this place just got the internet, and they'd just gotten email and stuff. This was like 2000. Okay. So they just gotten the internet, they just gotten email, they got a network. This is all new stuff for this business. And their internet went down. Now, we weren't the internet provider, but we
Right.
supported it, right? So if there was a problem internally or with the provider, we'd work with them to get it fixed for them. So the internet went down. Well, they called in the afternoon and were pissed off. They're pissed off. We're like, what's going on? Well, our internet's down and we've been sending emails all day and nobody's getting back to us.
Oh, that's amazing.
The email comes through the internet. Oh, yeah. So
They
the
were
funny
mad.
part, right? They were super mad because
Yeah.
they were communicating, but they didn't realize that their communication wasn't proper because they couldn't do it.
No.
They needed to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And needless to say, we printed that email out and it sat in our back room in our work area for a long time because it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But so working for an IT company, you know, in a more professional environment, they're all professional, but different environment,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
In 911, most of our, we're going to say customers are internal when it comes to emails. It's all internal stuff.
Yeah.
We don't email with the general public or any of that stuff. With very few exceptions, cell phone companies, that kind of thing. And that's very little anyway. And it's, here's this document, send me what I need. That's it. You know,
Right.
if you put any of that in there, you just send it to them and they send it back. But when I started in 911, the way people would send emails blew my goddamned mind.
Why?
Because there was no, hey, Norm, or Norm, blah, 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 blah. Thank you. None of that. They didn't even have email signatures. They didn't even put their name. They would send an email and it would be like, there was no greeting or salutation or anything. And there was nothing. It was just, send me this thing. What? This was left over here. What? What?
I know, it puts you in a
Like,
bad mood. You're like,
oh my
what the
God.
fuck?
I looked at this and went, wow. I looked around like, you're sending these emails to people? You work with them? And nobody gives a shit. That's the other thing. Because you know what? You'd get the emails back the same way.
They all got used to it.
And it
yeah.
wasn't that it was intentionally to piss the
just to
other
the
person
point.
off. Well, right. So the mentality
Yeah.
that I disagree with completely. And you know, I know there's some folks out there that I work with that listen to us, you know, some are going to agree, some are going to disagree. That's just the mentality. But the mentality is, we're busy. It's to the point. I just need an answer and
Yeah.
that's it. It's not meant to be rude. The problem is your intention. If you know if you know that your message can be perceived as rude,
Yeah.
then you probably should change it. It's not the other person's problem on the other end, how they're receiving it, because it is, but it isn't.
Right.
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 If
Yeah.
you're sending it a certain way
Yeah.
and you know it can be perceived that way,
Well, and if you
or
also
taken that
have
way,
the attitude or the persona of being an asshole or whatever too,
absolutely,
the person receiving it's like, hey,
100%,
this person's an asshole. Look how they
100%.
sent this email.
100%. So, you know, now we have email signatures, but they don't say, you know, actually one person says, you know, thank you or something like that all the time. Like that, she built that into her signature. So she doesn't have to worry about typing it in her email, which I think is hilarious. But more and more people have at least put somebody's name at the beginning or whatever. If it's just a generic email for everybody, like informational,
Yeah.
it's just, you know, there's this information we're waiting for, blah, blah, blah. It needs to go here. And that's it.
Yeah.
You know? And I, you know, it's funny because I like to think that I made some difference in it, right? Some difference. I understood. I've learned that some of that stuff isn't necessary in the world that we are in.
Right.
In your world, it's different, right?
It depends.
Right. But the world I had come from, it was all that way,
Right.
unless it was internal, and then it was just
Right.
if it was literally a conversation going back and forth.
Yeah.
But texts are a great example too, because we've with us and your work stuff, we've had many conversations about
Yep.
texts and
Yep.
people texting you and how they're texting you and what their intentions are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, when I don't hear from somebody for 3 months or 6 months or a year,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, all they'll text me is like a link to a Zillow something or whatever, and it's like, who the hell is this? It's 9 o'clock on Saturday night, someone I haven't talked to in like a year,
Yeah.
and all I get is I don't even get like any hi, how are
Right.
you? Sorry you haven't heard from me. Sorry it's a Saturday night. Like you don't get, and that it pisses me off. I
Yeah.
think it's fucking rude.
Well, I think
I
it
do. I think
is.
it's fucking
Okay.
rude.
So I'm gonna agree with you, and I think most people would, with a certain amount of time having gone by,
100%.
there should be some sort of a different.
Yeah.
You know, if you hadn't talked to somebody and you called them on the phone, you'd be like, "Hey, Tina, you know, I'm so sorry. Your text or your email should be the exact same fucking way. Period." Right? So now, the ones I talk about, and it's the mentality of people. People have gotten with texts and emails.
Threads.
One, it's a running conversation.
Correct.
And they treat it like you're still sitting there
Right.
talking. So
Yeah.
that's how a lot of people treat
Yeah.
it.
Thank you. You taught me that because I was
yeah.
always like, what the fuck?
I
And now
feel
I'm
like,
okay.
well, I don't know if I'm correct, but I
No,
feel like
think
that's
you're right
the
on
way
that.
it is.
Yeah.
It's a running conversation because they didn't delete it. They brought it up. They
Right.
keep talking to you.
Right.
And, you
It's
know,
still
it's
on their
been 3
mind
weeks.
or- yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And you may not have even kept it around. A lot of people delete them, and
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
comes back and
I
says
keep
something,
mine.
and you look at it and you're like,
Yeah. What?
What?
Who is this?
what are you saying? Like, I don't get it, you know, because it was 3 weeks ago that I talked to you, and now
Yeah.
you're sending me this random ass response. And I didn't add you to my phone because
Right.
we don't have that kind of relationship.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it's funny that people will do that. And the one thing that sometimes I know that you'll get frustrated with is not a hi, not a good morning or whatever. They just blast you with an email.
Yeah.
And because you, yeah. Okay.
I've gotten better about it because now I understand it better.
Yeah.
And it also depends on I feel like it depends on the person.
It also depends on your mood.
It 100% depends on my mood. However, it also depends on the person.
Yeah. Yeah, because you know some people are just jagoffs and and they
Yes.
send shitty texts
Yes.
or they're shitty in person, so you know
Yes.
they're going to be shitty in a text.
Yes. So I'm shitty back.
Well, right.
I'm a mirror. You give me
Right.
shit, I'm giving you shit back.
Right.
So
You give it back to them.
Yeah.
The point I was going to make though is in this day and age, people are passing off responsibility,
yes.
right?
Yep.
Which I think is shit.
Yeah, it is.
I get it, but I don't like it. I know what you're doing.
And I don't like it.
What
What movie is that from?
Yeah, isn't that?
Happy Gilmore.
I know. There's a second one coming. What people do is so they're trying to be polite. I think they're trying to be polite because they're not trying to bother you per se, but it's on their brain.
Right.
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 So rather than forget, it might be Saturday, which is Christmas Day, and 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. in the evening, they're going to send you a text. Rather than saying, hey, Tina, I just wanted to send this over to you. We can talk on Monday or Tuesday. That would be great. But I had this question.
Some people do that.
Then. Some people do. But a lot of people will just send you over a text.
Yeah.
And not preface it with that. Almost like they're looking for an answer right then. And I don't believe they are.
I know, but people that know me know that I like to answer right away. So that's where I get mad because I know, answer right away.
Because you will. Right.
Know.
So you feel like you're responsible for answering them right
I
then.
do, which is what you're trying to say.
Well, that, and they're also, some of them are now shifting the responsibility off of themselves.
Yeah, onto me.
To remember it on Monday.
Yeah.
Because they won't remember it on Monday.
Right.
So back in the day, okay, there were answering machines, so you couldn't talk to anybody. Or there wasn't an answering machine, and the fucking business was closed on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So your ass had to wait till fucking Monday to call them.
Right.
It was still your responsibility. But now, because we have email, websites that have contact forms,
Messenger,
everything, we can go, here you go.
Yeah.
Well, I text you 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, motherfucker, it was 7 p.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're waiting to call me until Monday. Hey, calm your tits, okay? That's what needs to happen. But people don't. They're literally taking the responsibility off of themselves for something they want and need, by the way, and putting it on somebody else.
I know.
And you know what?
Shitty.
I don't think it would be a bad thing if they communicated what their intention was.
Yeah.
Like I said before.
I don't want to forget about this. So I'm sending this now.
Right.
I do get people who will say, I know it's Saturday, but I know I'm going to forget this. You don't have to answer this until Monday.
Right. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
and that makes,
that.
and I hate to say it, you will probably answer them because you feel better about the way they are
and valued.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Or might I suggest, folks out there in the world, both of you that are listening right now, send an email. Send an email, because I feel like people are less likely to be monitoring and watching their email when they're off.
Yeah.
Than a text message. A text message is
you're literally getting
intrusive.
Yeah.
It's beep, 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 beep. And most of us only have one phone. There are people that have two, and they keep one separate from when they're working, but most of us just have one phone. So if you're not sure, send an email. Say, hey, I want to follow up with you. Give me a call on Monday if you can, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. Or tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Don't assume. And the other thing I think I've mentioned before is I think people feel like if they get their request in first, it's going to get handled first.
Right. I did it first, so you should be talking to me before you talk to anybody else.
Hey, folks, doesn't work that way.
For me, it's the way that I prioritize is it is a priority. If someone's out shopping for homes, they're taking precedence.
Yeah.
Someone who's already under contract, something's going on, they take precedence. I mean, that's the reality.
I feel like most of these people, if you were to ask them in whatever business they're in, they handle it the same way. Oh,
yeah, I'm sure they do.
But they will turn around and do the same stupid shit that gets done to them.
Hey, I've asked people that, hey, if the shoe were on the other foot and I was talking to you like this, how would you feel about it? And a lot of people are like, what?
Yeah. They don't get
because
it.
I don't know, because I think they don't realize sometimes they're doing it until then. Most people are like, oh God, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. And then you have other people who are like, what are you gonna do about it? Like,
not answer you. That's
and you're like, okay, well, so that's not those aren't people you want to work with.
No, I agree.
People that don't understand and respect other people. I mean,
some of it comes down to manners, and I know we've talked about, a manners class would be a great thing
Oh
to
my
see taught
God.
these days.
Hell yeah.
I don't know that anybody would attend it, but it should
I
be
think it
taught
should
in
be
school.
court ordered.
Yeah, court ordered manners
You
classes.
have to go to manners
Yeah,
classes.
You violated penal code for rudeness.
You need
son
to
of a
learn how
bitch.
to say thank you when someone holds the door open for
my-
you.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, they don't. They look at you, and then they get pissed off if you don't hold the door for them. But you know what? I didn't hold the door for you the second time because you didn't say thank you the first time, you fucking prick.
I heard it the other day. The guy, I said thank you, and the guy goes, "You're very welcome, young lady. Happy New Year." And I said, "Happy New Year." And then he held it open for someone else, and he goes, "You're welcome." He yells it. And I looked over at him. I was like, "Yeah."
That made it even worse because he got it,
Yeah,
and then somebody else
took it
didn't, and
away. I know. Too bad it couldn't have been the other way
went,
around.
Bing! This son of a bitch! I'm gonna give it to him.
I know. That's why we have to focus on the ones that aren't like that.
Right.
Stop giving them their fucking
Well,
time.
The communication portion is it's so crucial because it's so easy to
So anything could be misinterpreted. Literally anything could be misinterpreted. I mean,
I think it face to face. Yeah,
it's easier face to face for sure.
Yeah, it's less likely to be misinterpreted because it's usually part of a conversation, unless it's in passing and somebody says it abruptly. If you don't clarify, that's now on you because you think that the person's being a certain way. Well, and you can ask them.
And if you're not using your words, and you're not saying something, if you that's the other thing. The whole thing about being a direct person, direct doesn't mean asshole or bitch, right?
Yeah.
It means I know what I want, I know what I need, I know how to get it, I know where to go, I know who to talk to. Point A, point B. Let's get there. Right? So the funny part is that when you know what you're asking for, and your people are like, well, I don't understand what you're saying. What? To me, I'm like, I literally just told you. So it's like, so to me, then I have to this person either A, isn't listening to me at all.
Right.
Or B, they're so used to drama and trauma and crap and chaos that when someone comes at them with common sense, they're like, huh?
Yeah.
They don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do. Well,
so I don't know. So sometimes I'm like, I mean,
I don't have an answer for that.
I know. And I'm just trying to think of, it just happened to me not that long ago. And I was like, I literally just told you what I need.
Right.
Like word for word. This is literally what I said on the phone to you, what I need. What do you not understand? That, well, what are you getting so mad for? Like that kind of stuff happens.
Oh, God.
And then you're like, okay, yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, this conversation's over.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say anything more because you know me.
I don't want to get too far off topic, but
that's part of communication though.
Part we see it obviously. I see it all the time, and it pisses me off every fucking time we see it on these reality shows that we watch. When they're having a conversation, person A comes in,
oh yeah,
a little bit hot, not hot, but a little bit, and bitching at the other person. So the other person gets excited, emotional, defensive, but not so much. So they're not like, they're just a little riled up, not flaming fucking mad or anything. They're just trying to explain or defend or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're maybe louder. Maybe they're talking a little louder than normal. And this person's accusatory. They're being an asshole. And then this person comes back, and then the person that's doing the accusing is like, why are you yelling?
Yeah.
They take their voice down and they go, why are you yelling?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. Why are you yelling right now? What's going on? Motherfucker, you were just throwing accusations and being a dick. That's why they're yelling, and they're not even yelling.
No, they just got louder.
They're just emphatic about
trying
it.
to be heard.
Right. But yet you turn around. I feel like that's I'm going to use a word I don't want to use, which is gaslighting.
It is.
Fucking hate that word.
It's manipulative.
But it is
100%.
because I think they do it on purpose.
Oh yeah, they're trying to make the other person lose credibility.
Yeah, they're trying to make them look like they're the ones being emotional and they're being an asshole. Or, why are you getting so upset right now?
Did you see what he just did?
I was just trying to tell you.
Yeah.
About this.
I don't understand why these things keep happening to me. Because you're an asshole.
Oh my God, that is the worst. Like, I get so mad every time, and we do, because we're watching it, and I'm like, I'll turn to you and
pause.
Look. I'll turn to you and look with this. I know the look. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? You just fucking gave him I don't know why you're so upset right now. I don't know. Maybe because you just told him you slept with his brother 3 times, and now you're pregnant, and you don't understand why they're getting upset. Why are you yelling? I don't know. Because they're pissed off. That's why they're yelling. And you won't listen.
The other part, unfortunately, is people don't know how to communicate, even in person, a lot of times, because you get the one person who made the whole speech up in their mind about, oh, I'm going to let them have it. And they rattle off all the things they're going to say. And then they turn around and walk away and they don't let the other person say what they're going to say. Right. So you were okay to spew and spill all your shit and walk away without letting the other person understand what you said, receive what you said, talk about what you said, and then also counter what you said. So that's not communicating. No. So when I hear these people tell me what great communicators they are, what fucking planet are you on that you think you're a great communicator because you get to talk and you don't let anyone else, you're not listening and you don't let the other person. So that's one of the other things we talked about that we wanted to bring up in this is when you're hearing something from another person, right? When someone's conveying this message to you. So if someone told me Norm said this or whatever, right? Yeah. But I didn't hear you say it directly. I'm hearing through that person's filter.
100%.
So so here's more miscommunication. So let's say you and I are having a disagreement and there's this person in the middle here who thinks that they're helping, but this person is conveying messages back and forth to you and I because we're not talking and we're getting it through their filter. Right. And then the unfortunate part is, what's their motivation? Right. Do they want to see us not talking? Because maybe that makes them feel more important, closer to you, closer to me, closer to both of us, splitting us up, whatever. You don't know what their objective is or, what kind of motives they have in it. Right. So you don't know, I hate to say it, but we see it all the time. Yeah. Look at what happens politically. Everybody run to this side. Oh, no, hold on. Everybody run to this side. Oh, no, hold on. Everybody run. Okay, do you not see what's happening?
On the high seas going left to right.
Right. So, how about you just find out what's really happening? Take the time to understand what's really happening, and then your life isn't going like this all the time.
Well, the key is to you can't, if it's a conversation, family's the worst about this stuff. So.
That's because we think we could say whatever we want and it's okay.
Well, not just that, but what happens is we talk about, I shouldn't say we talk, maybe we. Parents, great example. Okay. They'll, especially if they have multiple children, they'll talk great to the one child, but then the other one will be like, I can't believe your brother's doing this. I can't believe they're doing that. Oh, yeah, it's great. It's great. And then I'll say this. and as well as I do that half of what the one they can't believe is doing something, their version is literally their version of what they believe. So they're putting their own shit on and judging the child. They may not be a child, probably an adult, whatever. Yeah. But they're putting their judgment on what they're doing and what they think they should. But instead of having a conversation with them about it, they take it and they go and tell somebody else about it. Yeah. And that person over there now gets upset. But the lines don't ever connect. Right. The information continues to flow through one point instead of the two direct points. Right. Yep. But family is the worst for that shit.
Mm-hmm.
I think. And gossip, right? Gossip is a great example of that. Somebody tells this person their story about whatever's going on in their life, and then they go tell someone else, or they say, "Oh, did you see what so and so did? Did you see what Norm did? I can't believe he's fucking doing this." So now the person that just got told this is pissed off at this other person when they didn't actually even see it happen.
Right.
But because
And they didn't go and ask you if you did it.
correct.
They just
Because
believed it.
well, they believed it.
Right.
And part of that is because
They probably trust the
politics,
person.
correct. They trust that person to be telling them the truth. Just like, we've had this, like, you have a great example of what you said to me about, you said this to your boss recently, right? If somebody, say what it was. I don't need to tell your story.
He said he would never lie to me, and I know that he would never lie to me.
Correct.
But I said to him, the problem is that if somebody's lying to you and you trust them, and then you're telling me what they said because you trust them, you are lying to me.
Yeah.
You don't know that you're lying to me.
Yes.
You didn't intentionally lie to me.
Right.
And you didn't mean to lie to me.
Right.
However, you still
malicious.
lied to
Right.
me because you were lied to.
Right.
And I'm trusting what someone else told you that I don't know who the fuck that
Right.
person is.
And usually it's because he trusted the person he got it from,
Right.
and that person
Correct.
got it from someplace else.
Right. Wherever
because
they got it.
that's their
Yeah.
job, right?
So that's where I'm looked at as, I don't know, a pain in the ass, difficult, whatever, because
Maybe.
I will go to the source.
Yeah.
So people know.
That's what you should do.
People know that if they're talking shit and they can't back it up, they're not going to say it to me, because
Right.
I will. If someone said to me that you were doing something, I would say, well, did you ask them? Well, no, but I heard from a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'd be like, hey, Norm, I heard from so-and-so that you were doing this. And then you'll probably laugh and be like, no, that's a half truth, which is still a lie, by the way.
Yeah.
Or, oh, they conveniently left out this part. Another omission, another fucking lie. So you gotta figure it out on your own. You can't automatically run with what someone told you. As much as we'd like to trust everybody in our lives.
Yeah. Right.
Nobody likes to look bad. I mean, nobody. I don't know anybody who likes to look bad.
Right.
However, sometimes we look bad. We made a mistake. We did something wrong. Whatever the case may be.
Right.
We just have to own up to it, learn from it, move on from it, take responsibility for it, and deal with whatever the repercussions were for that.
Right.
I think the fact that nobody knows what accountability is at a certain age, there's an awful lot of generations below us that have no fucking idea what accountability is. Thanks, parents. So I think once that happens more and people understand that there's repercussions for their actions, like, let's stop letting people post anonymously on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee that 99% of the shit people say, they would never say it to your face if they were standing in a room with you.
Of course not.
99%. There's no doubt in my mind. I read some of this shit and go, there's no way if I was standing with this person that they would fucking say that to my face.
Well, some of it's made up shit.
Well,
we see it all the time.
that's true.
It's
That's
made up bullshit.
right. It is. But there's sometimes that the keyboard warriors are still out there where they know they're never going to see this person or talk to this person. And then my favorite, then you get to fucking block the person, so you get to say whatever you wanted, and then you block them.
Right.
I have no respect for people who do that.
Well, that's the same version of doing.
It is.
So that's
you're not giving the other person the opportunity.
Excuse me. Sorry.
That's disrespectful.
But this is. So I think when we see people in real life go dump on someone and then walk away. No, I'm saying what I want to say. You're going to listen to what I have to say. Shut up. And then they say what they have to say, and then they don't give the person to come back.
Yeah.
You reserve that right. Okay. You have the right to do that. But you do need to understand that the repercussion to that is you've cut that person out now.
Yep.
And if you're okay with it, then be okay with it.
And you can't go back and be a whiny bitch and cry to them
when
that, just give me another chance.
So
I'm sorry. No,
the answer to that is you had no respect for me.
That's correct.
And I think that was, I don't remember seeing that happen ever before. But when you got to block a person, that's a real life version of like
Yeah,
blocking a person
it
or
is.
muting them or
Yeah.
unfollowing them for a while or something along
Snoozing.
those snoozing them. Right. They just snooze somebody. I think we just coined a term. Don't fucking steal it.
No, that's on Facebook.
No, I know. I'm talking about when they do it in real life.
Oh.
When we see it on stuff, they put them on snooze because they just dumped on them and then they put them on snooze so they don't have to read any of their other comments or they block them. We
Hey.
saw that in our community.
Yeah.
We saw that in our own
Oh, God,
community
yeah.
on Facebook. People were talking about something.
Petty.
People get pissy about the stupidest shit, by the way.
Petty.
But somebody would say something and then someone else would come back and then they would just flame them and block them. And then they would go back a little while later and unblock them so they could make another comment and then block them again. So the person never gets an opportunity to reply to them or see what they're saying, but everybody else can see it.
Yeah.
Right?
But then also, you know, I hate to say it, but people may act like they're friendly with you, but a lot of times you're the one who, if you're that person that dumps on people and walks up and does whatever and then doesn't give other people the opportunity to speak their mind and say their piece and all the rest of it, you're kind of the one that looks like the asshole.
Right.
And although people may not be saying it to your face, you have to wonder how many people are in this room with you that actually think you're an asshole.
Right.
Because of the fact that you go tell them things, but you won't. If you're only dumping on everyone and you're never letting anyone ever, if you say something, if you tell someone my feelings got hurt because you said or did this, but you don't give them the opportunity to explain why, you know, like it again, because it might have not been intentional. You know, if you close the door on my face, I think the one day you closed the door and you didn't realize that you closed the door. Actually, that did happen. You thought when I was walking in and you closed the door, I was standing there like, you just let the door close in my face. But you were holding packages. You were walking in with all this stuff and you held it and you thought, but like if I was that person, I was like, what the fuck, Norm? You just closed the door in my face and blah blah blah. So you turned around and I wasn't there and the door was closed. And when I opened it, I'm like, you closed the door in my face. You're like, I'm sorry, I thought you were right behind, but I didn't. I wasn't like, fuck you, you know, blah blah blah. You know, you told me what happened and I know. But my point being is if I just stayed quiet and didn't say anything and I just walked in and came in, now I'm resentful. Yeah. I'm resentful that this fucking guy closed the door in my face or whatever. But I'm just saying that, you know, that's where the eggshells start to come, right? Because I didn't tell you I was mad that you closed the door in my face and you know, whatever. It was not intentional and I knew that it was. I mean, obviously you would hope that you would know the intentions of the person that you're married to. However, it was
the reason is in an instance like that, and this is why it's easy to misconstrue something, is it was out of the normal pattern of how we come inside.
Correct.
So, you know, usually we hold the door, like you're right there behind me.
Yep.
So I can keep moving as I've held the door. I let it go because you're right there. You catch it. You know, our door into our condo closes automatically. You know, it's like a fire door. So, not as heavy as a fire door, but still heavy. But it closes automatically. So you have to hold it. And as the person moves in, then you move up, you know, we have an alarm that we have to turn off and stuff. So there's like a pattern of the way we do stuff. And I was following the pattern, but you broke the pattern by not moving with me the way, and I don't know what happened.
I don't remember either.
But it threw it off, and I was like, what do you mean I didn't close the door and you didn't keep moving, right? What happened?
Right, and I'm not saying you did.
No,
you know what I mean? I'm just,
I'm not getting defensive. I'm saying that's what.
Right.
That's part of the communication. Like, okay, that's a physical way of breaking communication, and even though it's typically an unspoken thing, and we don't talk about, okay, I'm going to walk through the door now, then let it go so you can catch it, please. Right. It's just something we always do. Right. But it's a very, it's a physical representation of actual break in communication because it got changed. But I agree with you. I think if you have something to say and you're holding something, if you want to be mature about it, then when you go to a person, you need to be ready to listen to what they have to say. If you just want to
give them the opportunity to correct it, by the way.
Right, because you don't, you know, the problem is some people are like, I don't care what their reason was. I'm so pissed off about it. And I need to live in my truth because blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
You know,
But like you
okay.
said, then you have to be ready to that
Well, you
person
just
to say,
changed your truth too.
right.
You just changed your truth because that person has no obligation any longer because you just showed them you don't have enough respect for them to have a conversation and be good with the fact that you just got cut out.
Yep.
Have a nice day.
Yep.
You know?
But then you're the victim who runs and tells everyone how that person doesn't talk to you anymore
Right.
and cut you
Right.
off or whatever. I have no respect for people like that.
Right.
None. Zero.
Right. No, I know.
Tell me
it's
what you
stupid.
did to in that story.
Right.
Because I don't believe
Yeah.
that people just cut people off.
Right.
There's reasons why people would cut people off, but tell me what's your reason.
Hey, I've done it on the phone, and it's not always the best thing to do when you're answering a 911 call. But sometimes, if it's a non-emergency call and they call to tell you they're calling to complain about another person, they want you to come out and address it with them, blah blah blah. Sometimes the words will come out. Well, why did they? First off, I'll say, well, why are they doing this? Something happened.
Of course.
Something happened.
Yep.
You know, I learned not to say, well, what did you do? You don't say that, right? You're thinking it.
Of course.
You're thinking it. What did you do to cause this problem? So that's why it's why are they this person? Why is this person doing this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes it's, I don't know. Sometimes it's like, well, we got into an argument because I'm leaving, or, you know, he found out I was sleeping with somebody else, or she's doing this or whatever. You're like, oh, okay. Now I have a different understanding of the mentality of the person on the other side,
Right.
instead of them just, we do get those that have just lost their shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's usually a mental health thing, and we have to approach it and handle it differently. But it's important to try and decipher what you can, if you can get that information before the police get there, kind of thing. But
yeah.
you know, if you're gonna go have that kind of communication with somebody, you're not communicating, you're dumping. You're not communicating.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, you're not communicating.
It's not, and that doesn't help because you dumped,
right?
But you didn't resolve it,
right?
You didn't clear it, you didn't fix it, you didn't change it. All that's going to happen is it's going to build up.
Feel better.
All it's going to do, well, you feel better temporarily. It's like a fucking hit
of
dopamine,
right? It's blowing up,
and then all of a sudden, okay, now it's gone, and you know, I feel better now, and then when that person's ignoring you and not talking to you, or they're out of your life or whatever, and it's building up all over, what the fuck? I mean, it's like a horrible cycle that only you can fix. And you know what fixes it? Communication.
Right. Proper communication.
Communication.
You know? And you can communicate.
Those aren't just words.
Upset.
Those aren't just words.
No, they're not. Haha. Communication's not just words.
It's legit, not just words.
I'm learning so much today.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people talk about that. They post their memes and their fucking whatever about communication, and they're like the worst communicators ever.
Yes, they are.
Where are you getting that? Like,
stop.
Are you reading it, or are you just posting it to
live it, internalize it, feel it? Don't just farm them.
Have the uncomfortable conversations, because again, this is honest truth. The uncomfortable conversations are not easy and they can suck. However, how much better does everyone feel? We've heard people say, oh my God, I feel so much better now. You know why? Because you were holding on to something like this. Ooh. And you're holding on to it, and the stress in your body, and you're holding on to it, and then, oh, that guy just pissed me off. And now that just pissed me off. And that guy cut me off. And that pissed me off. And it all builds up and builds up, all because you're holding on to this, whatever it was, when all you had to do was have this. It was an uncomfortable conversation, but now you got to speak your mind. I got to speak my mind. Why did we do this?
Right.
Or was I wrong? Were you wrong? Were we both wrong? Right. What's the agreement we come to? Do we never talk again? Do we communicate?
Which may be the outcome.
Right. But at least the closure is there. I can't say it enough. It's closure.
That's the problem, though. The person that wants to dump isn't interested in the other person's closure.
No.
And they think they're getting it by going and just
they're not getting closure.
Blurting out and yelling at them.
Dumping is not closure, people.
So often they come back because they realize the other person, it wasn't as bad as they thought, but because they were pissed off, they had to blurt it all out and get diarrhea of the mouth. But take time, people, to intentionally communicate, especially via text.
Yes.
Because that's probably the most communication that people have nowadays, even with your closest people, even with your children. You got to be very
specific.
Specific. Just, you have to know that you're communicating what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Don't assume they know it. And I'm not talking about talk to them like they're stupid. Just
No.
take the extra minute to go, hey, for so-and-so, like in the case of the ornament, for so-and-so, do you think they would like this or whatever the hell, you know?
Yeah.
So intentionally communicate and don't be an asshole. I mean, I think that's the message for today.
Yeah, don't be an asshole.
Yeah, don't be an asshole. I think that's a good
like
one.
it.
Hashtag don't be an asshole. That's going to be part of the Instagram post, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, so
Good one.
hopefully, yeah, no. If anybody has any questions,
Our last one of 2024.
our last one of 2024. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy Merry belated Christmas. Happy
Yeah.
Hanukkah.
Yeah.
We hope that we've seen so many people say how terrible 2024 was. So
Hopefully
hopefully
put it behind
2025 is better for everybody.
you. Yep.
You know, the reality is if you had loved ones die this year, there's a chance you're going to have loved ones die next year too. And all your years are going to be shitty if that's the way you keep looking at it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not that it's not sad, not that it's not upsetting, but you got to make the most of it.
Got to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And deal with it. Deal with it. Don't
bury it. Don't hide it.
And
don't mask it.
And don't keep saying it's just terrible. Go.
Yeah, that's not helping.
Deal with it. Right. But anyway, so hopefully this one will be on YouTube. Hopefully. I'm trying to film it. I messed around with some lighting. So if you watch it on YouTube, comment and tell us what you think about the lighting. I may change it up again. I'm still playing with it. I'm new to this stuff. So we'll see. But we'd love to hear input. If you have any ideas for topics or you want to hear us talk about something, feel free. Otherwise, hit us up.
realshowertalk@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
real.shower.talk on Instagram.
On Instagram, yes.
And Real Shower Talk on Facebook.
On Facebook, right. So you can message us, email us, hit us up in our DMs, whatever. But yeah, We'd love to hear about it. So,
all right.
Until next time.
Bye.